On Tuesday, October 8th, 2024, the official Little Big Planet account posted a statement confirming something that to many Little Big Planet fans was something straight out of a nightmare. Sony would officially be delisting Little Big Planet 3 and all of its DLC, effectively killing the game, and this is after Sony already ended support for the online connectivity features. Yup, Sony old yellered our childhoods.
No, Mama. There's no hope for him now, Travis.
After this was posted, I knew immediately I wanted to make a video paying tribute to Little Big Planet 3, sharing my personal experiences with the game, as well as many of the highs and the many lows that this game went through in its life cycle. But I ended up getting a bit preoccupied with researching one specific element of this game, a very strange addition to Little Big Planet 3 that, to this day, I feel like the wider Little Big Planet community feels pretty conflicted about.
Toggle, Oddsock, Swoop!
Toggle, Oddsock, and Swoop. Adding this group of new playable characters, which I'll be collectively referring to as the Bunkum Guardians, always felt like an incredibly, pardon my pun, odd way to evolve the franchise. Little Big Planet 2 built upon the formula established in Little Big Planet 1 by adding a lot of very technical tools for the player to use while creating levels, and expanding upon ideas featured in Little Big Planet 1's DLC, like water. Little Big Planet 2 improved upon everything in Little Big Planet 1, becoming an objective improvement upon the original, and adding tools that took the community levels truly to the next level. Little Big Planet 3's main gimmick being 4 new playable characters was an unexpected but incredibly unique way to expand the Little Big Planet formula. Though, sadly, I don't think I'm in the minority when I say these characters were implemented sloppily at best. And that's what I'd like to talk about today. The sloppy additions that are these characters, the good ideas, the bad ideas, and why they ended up this way. I think before I truly get into the minutiae of this subject, it's important that I address the elephant in the room. The development of Little Big Planet 3 was an absolute disaster. The devs were incredibly crunched, and Sumo Digital had to pick up the pieces and finish a project that they did not start in an incredibly short time frame. I have nothing but sympathy for Sumo Digital in the situation they were put in. That being said, why would you add
3 new playable characters
under these circumstances, Sumo Digital? I'm assuming the idea for these characters had to already have been set in stone by the time Sumo Digital took over development, because I can't seem to find any info online about which studio originally came up with these characters. I don't think Sumo Digital would have taken on the Herculean effort of adding these little freaks in if they didn't have to. But okay. Now we're stuck with the Bunkum Guardians. How were they implemented and how were they received? At the time Little Big Planet 3 launched, they weren't seen as that exciting. The features and mechanics the characters had could all be replicated with different tools for Sackboy, and the community had concerns over the new character taking resources away from Sackboy and their DLC costumes. And years later, the sentiment around the Bunkum Guardians has overall slightly shifted, where it seems like a lot of people are more positive on them, but some people still have a staunch dislike for them. Some people thinking they're lazy or just pointless. One Reddit user even saying, and I quote, "The new characters seemed pretty lame, and further advancement and or mechanics could have been added or created for Sackboy, making him a bit more complex of a character by giving him more power-ups and or mechanics, instead of just creating random characters that serve zero purpose other than to differentiate Little Big Planet 3 from the other games in the series." Now, the way I see it, the Bunkum Guardians were made as consistent, polished templates for common alternate archetypes people used in Little Big Planet 2. None of them are doing anything you can do with some elbow grease in Little Big Planet 2, but they're more accessible for new players, and there's less to tutorialize for players who want to experiment with specific level styles. By having them serve as pre-built alternatives, a player can create a level, decide they want to build something around the Oddsock moveset, and hit the ground running with the design. Essential additions? No, but very nice to have to help set some more varied foundations for creators to branch off of? Definitely. Now, I've been talking a lot about the creative side of things, but that's only one portion of what makes a Little Big Planet release. Introducing Little Big Planet 3's lackluster campaign. Well, okay, the campaign is charming, with some fun characters and a very whimsical villain. But, dear God, the way the Bunkum Guardians are implemented just feels like such a misfire. You see, in the main campaign, each of these new, very important characters that the whole game's marketing were based around had like a whopping 2 levels each. I remember when Little Big Planet 3 first came out, being so utterly disappointed that the Bunkum Guardians were so underutilized in the story mode. Well, yes, Little Big Planet 3 by far has the shortest campaign out of any of the Little Big Planet games, and I understand the temptation of not wanting Sackboy to be overshadowed by the newcomers. It just feels so anticlimactic using them so sparingly, when the game's narrative and everything around the game is hyping up these characters, when it feels like the game itself is afraid to use them. The lack of the Bunkum Guardians' presence in the game's campaign sadly goes hand in hand with another problem the Bunkum Guardians face. That being their abysmal costume options in base Little Big Planet 3. A huge part of the appeal of Little Big Planet is the customization of cosmetics, whether that be with Sackboy and their costumes or even customizing the pod. The wide array of options Little Big Planet gives you to express yourself is undeniably part of the identity of the whole series. Because of Little Big Planet 3's lofty ambitions of introducing 3 new characters in the same game, the devs didn't have the time or resources to spend on adding that many new outfits for the new characters. So they didn't do it for the most part. Each of the Bunkum Guardians have a couple costumes that look alright.
Unless you're Swoop, then you have abysmal dog shit.
But the costume pieces are very boring and aren't very versatile. You can't make anything all that neat from them. I will say the DLC did remedy this by adding a lot of great costumes for Toggle, Oddsock, and Swoop, but it does disappoint me that their initial costume pools were so limited. And with future Little Big Planet 3 players not even having the ability to purchase the DLC outfits because they'll be delisted, I think the limited costume pool will always go down being a very big negative of the Bunkum Guardians. It's also weird that for Toggle they added a pig skin in the DLC when there was already one in the base game. The DLCs in general added so much to the Bunkum Guardians, and I think are a big part of the reason why some people became more positive on the Bunkum Guardians. A bunch of great level packs were released involving the Bunkum Guardians, most notably among them being the Journey Home, which acted as an epilogue for the entirety of Little Big Planet 3, having Sackboy and the Bunkum Guardians go back to Craft World, the setting of the prior games. It's really awesome getting to run through some of the locales from Little Big Planet 1 and 2 as Toggle, Oddsock, and Swoop. Hell, the Journey Home even introduced new power-ups for the Guardians, like the Springinator for Oddsock, which really gave him so many new options when it comes to designing levels around him. One little detail I really love about the Bunkum Guardians is how their skin tone differs from base Sackboy because they're from Bunkum and not Craft World like Sackboy is, which is why their skin color is vastly different to Sackboy, but are also all similar to each other. Hi, editor's note. I don't know why I said this. Swoop is clearly fucking brown. But yeah, I think I've covered a lot of what I wanted to discuss about Toggle, Oddsock, and Swoop. While these characters are undeniably odd additions that didn't feel very necessary at the time, and I still find to be kinda unneeded, I do really like them for what they are. I think their designs are really great, and while they certainly aren't on par with Sackboy, they each manage to be fresh and charming in their own unique ways, and it makes me really sad we likely will never see them again. They weren't really mentioned in Sackboy Big Adventure, and the general state of Little Big Planet's future is uncertain to say the least. While I'm certain Sackboy will stay around as a professional Sony nugget kisser,
I suppose
Sackboy
can be a skin in the new
Lego Horizon.
game, but only if you kiss my nugget.
I swear to God, if I had my painting needle on me right now,
It's almost certain that we will never see the Bunkum Guardians again. So, let's say goodbye, not just to Little Big Planet 3, but also Toggle, Oddsock, and Swoop. The mascots that never were. You guys really deserved better.